Hello everyone and welcome to the BSSS rhythm. We here today have a small session on organizational change. It's a quick review we'll go through. So I'm Anita Jaume Thomas from Department of Management and we are going to go through the quick glance. So today in this particular topic, we are going to look into important aspects of meaning, nature of organizational change, reasons for change and Kurt Lewin's model. We also call it as the process of change. Now what is exactly change? When we talk about change, we always refer it to as the change in the work. So we call it as work change. So exactly the way of doing the work will go through a series of change. So according to R.A. Barron, organizational change refers to planned or unplanned transformations in an organization's structure, technology and or in people. So it could be a change associated with organization structure, its technology and people. It can be either any of this again. Whereas according to Newstorm and Davis, organizational change is defined as any alterations that occurs in the work environment. So here according to Newstorm and Davis, they talk about alterations and work environment. So any changes that you're bringing into the work environment. So when we talk about this organizational change, remember it always takes place as a result of changes in technology, demand, consumers' preferences, changes in strategies of the competitors, etc. So it can be any of these kinds of changes. Say for example, the organization wants to go for expanding their market. Definitely it will go for change. It will go for expansion within the organization. They may go for recruiting more people. They may even create another department. So all such kind of changes are quite eminent. Organizations have to respond to such changes and adjust themselves to the changes in the changing world. Now, let's see what is exactly the nature of this organizational change. The first and foremost important element is organizational change often has a widespread effect. So that means a small change happens in one area, it will definitely have its implications on the another area. So whether a change is big or small in any part of the organization, it tends to affect the entire organization. So for example, the effect of downsizing. When the organization takes up a challenge of downsizing, quite naturally what will happen is that it will be affecting different departments altogether. That means they might be planning for downsizing of employees, automatically it will be reflected in all the parts of the organization. Next, this organizational change can have a negative or positive effect. So the effect here would be either negative or positive. Say the organizational change leads to pressure, that is work pressure plus conflicts, and may eventually cause breakdown in the organization, leading to dissatisfaction amongst employees. So this kind of change will definitely reflect the negative effect, while the same change can have a positive impact when the employees understand the importance of change and they accept the change, and this will help the organization to grow and develop further. The third nature of organizational change is that we talk about equilibriums and disequilibriums. That is, every organization tend to achieve equilibrium in their social structure when the employees adjust to the environment and they perform the job well. However, it's quite a possibility that the same organization can face a disequilibrium when the employees resist the change, fails to make the necessary adjustments according to the change. The next nature is that what kind of changes do we see? Basically, we say that changes of two types. One is transformational and the other one is adaptive. Always remember, a change that is major will always have a transformational change, whereas a change that is minor will be adaptive in nature. So, for example, a new policy or procedure adaptation within the organization is a minor change. Whereas, if you are going to bring in a technological change, or if you are planning to revamp the entire organization structure, then it will amount to a major change. The final nature is that the same organizational change is an ongoing process. So, here when we talk about it is continuous in nature. So, that is, it's not a one-time event. It keeps on happening again and again. So, it recognizes the organizations must continually adapt, evolve and improve to remain relevant and competitive in the rapidly changing business environment. So, it's quite natural when we talk about this business environment, we know it's dynamic. So, owing to this dynamism, the organization has to make the changes very often. Hence, the organizational change is quite continuous in nature. Now, let's quickly move or look into the reasons for change. It's just we will understand due to which reasons or what reasons the change in the organization happens. So, here we have the change in the leadership at the helm of the company. So, we can take the example like, for example, Cognizant, where the leadership has got changed. Definitely with that change, series of things might have undergone a change. Shifts in the organizational team structure, the implementation of new technology, adoption of new business models by the top level management, the changing needs due to globalization. So, we call it as globalization need. So, we need to adapt to the changes that is happening in the external world. Performance gaps of employees. So, that's quite common. Performance gap can always exist. We need to rework on these gaps so that we can improve. So, definitely training and development can help to recover or improve the performances. The next one is the political and the legal changes, and the final one is the social trends. So, this was the quick glance of our change. Moving forward, we will move on to another important topic, that is Kurt Lewin's change process or Kurt Lewin's change model. So, it is nothing but shredding your old ways, moving on to your new way. So, here we have three processes. The first process is known as unfreezing, that is unlearning what we have been doing or learning. So, when we talk about unfreezing, the first and foremost thing we need to check out is that what is exactly we are planning to change. So, we need to determine what exactly needs to be changed. Then we should ensure who is going to take up the leadership for bringing the change. So, when we talk about the leadership, here we have to be very sure, do the leader get the right amount of support in order to bring in the change. We need to manage and understand the doubts and concerns as well. So, here when we try to go through all these steps, somewhere or the other, it helps us to unlearn what we have been learning previously. Moving on from there, we move on to the next process called as change, an important step. After helping the people to know why we are bringing the change, we go for planning of change, taking the step-by-step process so that we can plan all the changes in either in the structure, either amongst people, or either in the physical setup of the organization. So, we have to plan the change. We have to communicate this change to the employees concerned who will be implementing this change. Moving on from there, we should involve all the people when we are going through change, or when we are planning for this change, we should involve each and every employee. So, co-opting is a good option. Somewhere or the other, resistance would be reduced greatly. The next one is to implement the change. Whatever changes have been planned by the organization, they should implement the change. Now, once we implement the change, we move forward to the next process called as refreezing. When we talk about refreezing, we are trying to, whatever new ways we have adopted at the planning stage, we will be freezing those processes or steps. So, here we need to ensure that whatever changes we have anchored, we need to ensure those changes is implemented into the organization's work culture. And we have to develop ways to sustain this change so that on continuous basis the employees will follow the new processes and new work pattern. Provide the required support and training to the co-workers so that they can easily implement the change. And finally, here we can celebrate the success if the change implemented brings a lot of laurels to the organization. And that was all from my side. Thank you for the patient hearing. Thanks a lot. In the next video, we will be continuing with resistance to change. Thank you.